Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another video. It is the player ratings. Everton 1, Bournemouth 0 on Sunday. I apologise that this video is a little bit late. I decided yesterday to just completely forget about football, completely forget about Everton, spend the time with my family, have some and rest and time away from thinking about what had been a horrifying season, and I thought we'll pick up on where we left off today. So we are going to be doing the player ratings now. The live game review will be live at around about 12 o'clock, so look out for that one. We'll be live discussing this game in greater detail. We did do the instant match reaction on Sunday after the game, and a very different instant match reaction to the one that obviously was uploaded after that game against Crystal Palace a year ago. I was nowhere near as sort of excited. I was nowhere near as visibly happy. I was nowhere near as emotionally drained, in the sense of that I'd had that much sort of happiness and joy from that comeback against Crystal Palace. This time it was emotionally drained because of what we've been through for the entire of the last not only 12 months but 2 years really. I think we were guilty last season of not enjoying it a little bit too much, but certainly allowing the disaster that was last season to be brushed under the carpet. I think we all sort of sat here after the Crystal Palace game and breathed the collective sigh of relief and sort of all said, oh my god, thankfully we've gotten away with that will never happen again. Let's just put it under, put it to one side, move on and look forward to the next season. And because of that, we maybe didn't ask the questions that we should have asked of the people in charge. We maybe didn't push, the for change as much as we probably should have. We almost sort of just went, that was a horrendous that, but that can't happen again surely with Everton Football Club. That was an anomaly season. We won't see another one like that. Let's just move on and and move forward. And ultimately, this season has shown that actually nothing will change at this football club until something changes. And that might seem like the most obvious statement and obvious sentence in the world, but my old friend John Blaine would tell you that in business there's an old saying that you either change the people or you change the people. And what that means is you either change the people that are currently in charge and make them perform better and give them tools to perform at their highest level, which they aren't currently doing, or you remove them and put new people in. And it's become quite evidently clear at the moment that Everton are in dire need of the latter. And, whilst we all might have been relieved and thankful on Sunday, after Abdoulaye Doucouré rocketed that ball in the back of the net and Everton's Premier League survival was confirmed, for me, certainly, it wasn't a time to be overly happy. It wasn't a time to be overly celebrations and this, that and the other. For me, I sat back, as I said, I'd done the instant match reaction. I was very thankful that we were in a position in the first place to be able to sort of go into that final game of the season with our own fate in our own hands. And I was very, very thankful that we managed to come out of that still a Premier League side. However, my real celebration and my real sort of joy and happiness and excitement for the future will come when we have the resignations of those people that have put us in this position in the first place. Bill Kenwright, Denise Barrett-Baxendale, Graham Sharp, I'm not particularly bothered about as well. He can go for all I care. And, most importantly, Farhad Moshiri, because Farhad Moshiri is the reason as to why Everton are in this position. He owns this football club. He makes the decisions at this football club. He is the one that is keeping these people in their jobs. He is the one that over the years has blasted silly amounts of money up the wall on ridiculous decision making from managers to players to directors of football, etc. So whilst all of those people are still in charge and still in positions of power at this football club, I can only be thankful and grateful that we've gotten out of it this season. I can't be anything more than that. I'm not happy. I'm not joyous. I'm not excited. I'm not made up. I'm purely thankful and grateful that we're out of it for this season. But I'm of the understanding that we will be in this same position next season without a shadow of a doubt if nothing changes at the top of this football club, and serious changes are needing to be made. They really, really, really are. And, I've had a couple of people saying, oh, Cam, you didn't seem as happy on the internet match reaction as we thought you'd be, or you didn't seem as excited, or you didn't seem as, as made up as what we would have expected. And I had mates texting me on Sunday night saying, why aren't you out? Come out for a pint, come out for this, come out for that. Everton have just stayed up, come out and celebrate this, that and the other. And I had to say to them, no, I don't want to. I'm not in the mood to. I'm not in the mood to go out and celebrate. I'm not in the mood to jump around and sing and scream and shout. I get why people are, and I'm not criticising for anybody for doing that, because that is completely understandable, and that relief and that, that sort of, as I said, that feeling of, oh my God, it's over and we're okay is one that people will celebrate in many different ways. But for me, I'd done all of that last season. And I said to myself, this can never happen again. And 12 months later, it happened again. So, I went home. I had a relaxed night. And as I said, I spent the whole night just thinking, thank God that we are still a Premier League side. And now we really, really need to push for change within our football club. Obviously, those are conversations to be had over the course of the next few weeks as we move into the summer. We will be doing the live game review to this game a little bit later on, as I mentioned, so don't forget to look out for that one. But this is the player ratings. If you remember the player ratings after that game against Crystal Palace last season at Goodison Park, I think, if I'm right in remembering, I think I pretty much give everybody a 10 on that night, because I was so relieved, I was so excited. I just said everybody gets a 10, everyone was unbelievable, Everton are staying up. That isn't going to be the case this time round. An extremely difficult game of football to watch because of everything that was riding on it, and just because of how difficult it was. It was a horrible 90 minutes, and I think that anybody that was watching and anybody that was in Goodison Park will tell you the same. It was not an enjoyable 90 minutes. It was not one that, we will sit there and think back to, oh, what an amazing day that was. It wasn't. And, as I said, again, Crystal Palace seems, looking back, as such an amazing moment, such an amazing day. 2-0 down, we come back, all of the celebration. This one hasn't got the same feeling whatsoever. It was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous, just because of everything it had riding on it, and for large moments in the game, it didn't look like we were going to be able to score, and obviously we knew quite early on that Leicester were in the driving seat to win their game, meaning we had to win or we were going down. But anyway, as I said, we've already spoken about all of that on the Instant Match Reaction. This is the player ratings, the show where we give every player a grade from 1 to 10, 1 being obviously terrible and 10 being absolutely unbelievable. And yeah, we're going to get straight into it. So Jordan Pickford, I'm going to give Jordan an 8. He didn't have a lot to do whatsoever. I thought Bournemouth were poor, to be honest with you. I thought Bournemouth were really, really poor. Yes, they had a little bit of a go in the sense of that, in that first half, they made it difficult for us. They were time wasting from the first second. Obviously, there was never anything in this game for Bournemouth. They didn't need to win. They didn't need to get anything out of it. It was clear that the instruction from their manager was to try and prevent Everton from winning, and try and prevent Everton from staying in the Premier League, which is a little bit strange considering I didn't think he had a problem with Everton. But obviously, listen, it's a game of football. They're not going to want to go out and lose. They're not going to want to go out and, roll over just because we needed to win the game. They were always going to want to make it difficult for us, and that's fair enough. But yeah, I thought Jordan, whilst not having a lot to do and not being particularly troubled, I think there was one moment in the second half where he makes a save that, look, in hindsight, you probably watch again and again and again, and I have watched it again and again and again, and you probably think, you know what, he should make that save, Jordan Pickford. It's bread and butter for him. He's one of the best goalkeepers in world football, which he is again, and I'll say it again. I don't care what anybody, thinks or wants to comment or says. If you simply do not see Jordan Pickford as one of the best in world football, then you have not got a clue about football whatsoever, and you should simply just stop watching. It's as simple as that. So, as much as it was maybe a save that you would expect him to make, and he should make for the quality of goalkeeper that he is, it was one that at the time, in the circumstance, 1-0 up, about 10-15 minutes ago. It's it on the half volley. His view is a little bit distracted, a little bit crowded. It was a fantastic save, and again, whilst he didn't have much to do, whilst he wasn't really challenged. It wasn't his most active game of football. Jordan was interviewed after the game and he was asked how he felt, and he said absolutely shattered, and that tells you something, because that tells you emotionally and mentally he was in that game for the entirety of it. Even though physically he mightn't have had much to do, he was emotionally invested in it for the entirety of it. Jordan, I believe, has come out and according to some really reliable journalists, stated that he wants to stay at Everton Football Club, and he has no desire to leave regardless of any interest from Premier League clubs. So you can tell how much it means to Jordan, and as I said, he didn't have much to do, but when we needed him to step up, although it seems like one that you probably would expect him to save, he still stepped up in a moment that we really needed him to, and he's done that time and time again all season. And I can't think about Jordan Pickford without thinking about that save again, to deny James Maddison from the penalty spot at Leicester a few weeks ago. You think back to that, and if that goes in, Everton are 3-1 down at half time, Leicester probably go on and win that game, and ultimately if the season pans out the way in which it did, then Leicester would ultimately have gone on and stayed in the Premier League, and Everton would have been relegated. So yeah, again, not an awful lot to do, but he was called upon when he was needed once again, and he pulled through, so he's getting an 8. Yerry Mina, obviously his last appearance for Everton, this one, which is gutting, I will admit. Look, I understand the circumstance, and it probably is the right decision given his wages and given his lack of availability over the last 5 years because of injuries, etc, etc. Obviously it isn't his fault, and I appreciate that and I understand that, but given the position Everton are in financially, to give Yerry Mina another contract on the wage that he was on, with no guarantee that he would be available for 15 games next season, for example, would have been a risky decision. Having said all of that, I will miss this fella. I will miss this fella greatly. I think he's unbelievable. I think he's amazing. His personality, his attitude, his determination, his desire, his commitment, his mentality, everything is that of a genuine world-class footballer. And if Yerry Mina didn't have the injury record that he has, and if Yerry Mina, was somebody that you could rely on for 35, 36 games in a Premier League season, then firstly he wouldn't be at Everton. But secondly, he would be one of the best centre-halves in world football. I have no doubt about it. I can think of maybe 2-3 times in the 5 years that he's been here that he's let us down. And I'm not including times that he's been injured or that he's come off with injuries, because they're situations that he can't help. And although they're frustrating, and although ultimately they play a part in the decision for him to leave the football club, they aren't his fault. And they're just things that we have to deal with. But in terms of mistakes he has made on the pitch, or decisions he has made on the pitch that have led to Everton losing a game or conceding a goal, I can think of maybe 2 or 3 in 5 years, and I can think of countless amounts of times he's putting in 10 out of 10 performances that ultimately have seen Everton through a game or win a game, or come through in big moments when we've needed to, and this was another example of that on Sunday. Yeah, he is getting a 10 out of 10, not only because it was his last game of football for the club and because I absolutely love him, but he was formidable. He was absolutely formidable on Sunday. He was fantastic. Everything we needed him to do, he did. Every bit of defending we needed him to do, he did. He made a block to deny Dominic Solanke early on in the first half, which was just an unbelievable block. If he doesn't make that, maybe Bournemouth go 1-up and it's a different game. Again, everything that come at him, he dealt with, he defended. Everything he needed to clear, he dealt with. Yeah, look, again, as I said, I completely understand the decision, and I completely understand the reasoning behind the decision to allow him to leave the football club, but I won't half miss this fella. He just is, on his day, there's nobody better. He's absolutely colossal. He's unbelievable. And yeah, obviously we wish him the very, very best with his future. We wish him the very, very best whatever he goes on to do next, and I think I speak on behalf of every Evertonian here. He will always have a place at this football club. we needed them to to give everything on Sunday. We needed them to go out on a high, and you know, he said on his Instagram on Saturday night, he'll keep us up, and he did do that. And as I said, a truly phenomenal defender in every sense of the word. Not only with his ability, but his mentality, his determination, his desire, and his ability to wind centre forwards up. He is top notch. And as I said, if you could say to me, Cam, I guarantee it, he's going to be fit for 38 games next season, I'd have had no issue giving him another contract because he's that good. But yeah, he moves on. As I said, wishing him all the best for his future, of course. And ultimately, it is sad to see him go. But yeah, I thought he was fantastic on Sunday. She was getting a 10 out of 10. Connor Cody, obviously coming in for the first time in a while, could also be making his last Everton appearance, depending on what happens with his loan deal. I'm gonna give Connor a 7.5. I don't think he was as involved as Yerry Mina or James Tarkowski, but he still was there when we needed them. He was still battling when we needed him to. He was still putting himself in front of challenges. He was still making himself known. He was still getting involved. He was still, ultimately leading by example when we needed him to on Sunday. Again, the decision as to whether or not he should stay at the football club is one that we will have, those conversations about in the coming weeks, and I'm sure we will hear more about those rumours in the coming weeks as well. But for this game, I thought he was very solid, battled, worked hard. Obviously, he's a natural leader, so he leads by example, but he also leads by, his voice, his dominance in vocally, and you can't half tell when that is helping other players that are around them. But yeah, you could see how much it meant to Connor as well at the final whistle when we scored. You could see how much it meant for him to keep this football club in the league, and you need players like that. You need players that care. You need players that have got qualities to offer this football club that maybe others don't. And Connor certainly has that. Whether or not the decision to keep him at the football club will be taken, we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure Yerry Mina's decision to leave, and I'm sure the Jared Branthwaite situation will all come into play when discussing that. But yeah, I thought he was really, really, really solid at the weekend, Connor, and he deserves the credit for that. James Tarkowski, I'm going to give James an 8.5. I thought he was a little bit less involved than Yerry Mina, a little bit more involved than Connor Cody. Again, really, really strong performance by James Tarkowski, the only outfield Everton player to have played every single minute of the Premier League season, and there's a reason for that. He's been consistently solid throughout the course of the season. He's put in top performance after top performance after top performance. He's made some mistakes, and he made a mistake on Sunday, which could have led to a goal. Obviously, the one before the Yerry Mina block from the Solanke shot. Tarkowski actually lost possession of the ball and put us in a little bit of danger. But again, he got up, he apologised, he moved on, and he didn't let it affect him. He didn't drop his head. He didn't let it have any sort of effect on his performance or the rest of his game. He just moved on, got his head up, and went again. Yeah, I thought, as he has been for the entirety of the season, I thought he was really, really solid, battled, put in a good working performance, and yeah, one that he could certainly look back and be proud of. Into the, I say midfield, wing backs then, Dwight McNeil. I'm going to give Dwight McNeil an 8.5. Worked his absolute bollocks off on Sunday once again, obviously playing out of his position, at left wing back. Dwight McNeil, for me, has been Everton's player of the season this season. Maybe you could argue Jordan Pickford on the course of the whole season, but Dwight McNeil, for me, certainly since Sean Dyche has come into the football club, has been absolutely fantastic. His efforts, his desire, his want to work hard, his want to fight, his want to battle, his want to improve, his want to sort of get involved in the game and not hide and not, sort of shy away and, sort of, as I said, hide in big moments is quite evident. He was asked to do an incredibly difficult job over the course of the last couple of weeks in playing, in a wing-back position. He's never played there before. Obviously, defensively, he's been a real asset to Everton over the course of the last couple of months, but he's always done that from an attacking position. He's come back and helped defensively. He's come back and helped Vitaly Mykolenko. He's come back and helped when he's needed to. He's never had to play in a defensive role where he is the last man. He is the defender, and he's had to do that for the last couple of weeks, and he's done it brilliantly. I thought his work rate was phenomenal on Sunday. I thought his efforts were phenomenal. Thought defensively he was really solid. Again, not a lot to do. Bournemouth didn't demand much from him, but what he had to do, he did well. He stayed strong. He fought. He was, as I said, his performance was really, really, really impressive. So, yeah, I love Dwight McNeil. And when we do the season player ratings within the next week or so, as part of the season review segments, I'm sure you will all find out just how much I like Dwight McNeil, because I think he's been astonishing recently. Other side then, James Garner. James Garner's getting a 9.9, and the reason for that is because I think Yerry Mina is man of the match with a 10. I don't just want to give 10 out of 10s out constantly for, a 1-0 win against Bournemouth in, as I said at the start of the video, a game that was truly, truly horrendous for all of us to witness. However, James Garner was fantastic on Sunday. Again, another player playing in a position that he's never played before, in a position that he's not used to, and he was astonishing. You would have sworn he was a natural right wing back on Sunday. Everything about his game, defensively he was solid, his passing was brilliant, his strength was fantastic, his overall calmness on the ball and when he's in and around the ball is so important. And listen, whether or not James Garner will be, an option at right wing back for the future for Sean Dyche is something that awaits to be seen, and maybe it was just something that Sean Dyche did because he needed to. But one thing's for sure is whether James Garner plays right wing back, whether James Garner plays central midfield, wherever James Garner plays, next season for Everton, he will be an asset to this football club. His calmness, his coolness, everything on the ball, in and around the ball, he just is absolutely fantastic. He's fantastic, and I thought he was brilliant again on Sunday. A real top performance, and we needed it. We needed it from him as well, because as I said, we were always going to be, a little bit short in terms of the balance on that right hand side, because we didn't have a natural right back. Same with the left hand side, we didn't have a natural left back in the team either. So the balance was always going to be a problem and a question for Sean Dyche, and he could have gone with Mason Holgate, he could have gone with Michael Keane, but he didn't. He put that faith in James Garner, and I thought James Garner was absolutely fabulous on Sunday. Into the midfield then, Idrissa Gana Gueye, he's getting a 9. Again, a truly wonderful performance for me by Garner. He's been very hot and cold this season, in my opinion. He's had some games where he's looked brilliant, and he's had other games where he's looked absolutely horrendous. But when we needed them to step up, when we needed them to be accounted, when we needed them to work and battle and put himself about and really give everything for this football club, he did that. And as I said, I thought he was absolutely brilliant in the centre of that midfield on Sunday. A wonderful performance. What his future looks and how his future looks at this football club, I'm not quite sure, but he was brilliant on Sunday, and it was reminiscent of the old Gana Gueye. And if he can put that type of performance in next season, then again he will be an asset. Abdoulaye Doucouré then, Abs is getting I'm going to give him a 9 as well. Obviously, he got the goal that ultimately has kept Everton in the Premier League. He's labelled it himself as the most important goal in his career, most important goal in his life, and it certainly feels like that, doesn't it? A wonderful strike, a wonderful bit of skill to hit it on the volley, and a wonderful bit of skill to guide it into the bottom of the corner, especially given the pressure and the nerves of the situation and the anxiety of the situation as well. I thought he was solid. Thought he put himself about, thought he battled, thought he worked hard, and that's something you've gotten from Abdoulaye Doucouré, since Sean Dyche has come into the football club, I've said it before and I'll say it again, this is a player who was practically had 1 foot out of the door in January when Frank Lampard was here. Frank Lampard had no interest in playing him, no interest in using him, no interest in keeping him in the team or in and around the team, and all of a sudden, Frank leaves, Doucouré ends up staying. I dare say probably just on the basis that there wasn't much time left for him to make the move and we couldn't get a replacement in. And then Sean Dyche comes in and really finds a way to utilise him, puts him in a midfield, initially with Onana and Garner. After a bit of moving about, playing him behind the striker, ultimately finds a player there that can be a match winner, that can provide big moments. Now, don't get me wrong, I've criticised Dukes before, and I stick with my point. I don't think he's the most talented footballer in the world, and he has some games where he looks really, really poor, and his touch is bad, and his movement isn't quite there. But he has other games like Brighton away, where he scores a wonderful volley, and he scores a couple of goals that, ultimately... get us a big win. He has moments like Sunday where he blasts one into the back of the net and ultimately is the decision maker in us staying in the Premier League. And again, what you will always get from Abdoulaye Doucouré is hard work, graft, fight, and on the on occasion you will get quality. And he stepped up when we've needed him to. He's been absolutely brilliant. Goal against Forest as well, away from home, which was a big moment. He's absolutely stepped up when we've needed him to, and there was no bigger example of that than on Sunday. I thought he was brilliant, and obviously his goal is the one that is having us all sit here with a big smile on our faces. So yeah, he deserves the credit for that. Going forward then, Alex Iwobi, going to give him a 7. Thought he worked hard. Thought he battled well. Thought his movement was good. Thought he gave everything, Alex Iwobi. I don't really think he was massively involved in the sense of creatively, bloody hell, I can't speak. Creatively or much going forward to try and win us the game. But, again, maybe that isn't his fault. Maybe that's because of the setup and ultimately because of the fact that we've got a number of players out injured at the moment. I thought his effort was there, work rate was there, determination was there, battle was there. Thought he put in a really solid shift. Onana on the other side, again, I'm going to give him a 7.5, and the reason for that is because I don't think he was great in the first half, I'll be honest. I don't think he was as involved as maybe he should have been or could have been in that first half. He battled, don't get me wrong, he worked hard, he fought, but again, he wasn't really involved in the game. He wasn't really as involved as we maybe needed him to be. However, one thing I noticed from Amadou is in those final moments of the game, in the final 10, 15 minutes when it was getting hard, when players were tired, when, it was very, very, very clear that the emotion of the day and what the day meant and just the everything about it was really starting to drain on players, and you could really see the energy levels had dropped. Amadou picked himself up in those moments and give that extra 5%. He made that extra tackle, he made that extra run, he made that extra burst of energy, and even though he might not have had it, and even though he was visibly tired and he was visibly drained and he was visibly, struggling, he didn't hide, his head didn't drop, he picked himself up and he went again and he went again and he went again, and that is really, really important. And listen, we may not see Amadou Onana in an Everton shirt again because of the noise behind a potential transfer, but I thought in that moment when we really needed him to stand up and just give that little bit more towards the end, he did do that, and I was really, really impressed with that. And then Damari Gray, I'm going to give Dimmy a 7.5 as well. I thought he worked hard. Obviously, nothing really come off for him. He probably should have done better with his header, which ultimately should have been a penalty anyway. Maybe he should have had a couple of penalties himself. I haven't really seen them back. He definitely should have had one. But, yeah, again, obviously he isn't a striker, and we all know that area is one that Everton simply have no choice but to strengthen in the summer. However, I thought he worked hard, I thought he battled. I can't really question his determination and his efforts on Sunday. I just think that you know, yeah, he doesn't really. He's not a striker. Ultimately, he's not a striker, so you know you can't really criticise him too much. But yeah, and then Ellis Sims, who come off the bench, I'm gonna give Ellis a 6.5. I thought again he come on, worked hard, ran round a bit. Not his fault, of course. But yeah, he come on, worked hard, battled, and yeah, ultimately done what we needed him to do to see the game out. And then Sean Dyche, look, I've been critical of Sean Dyche since coming into Everton. I've been very critical of some of his decisions, but my biggest compliment to Sean Dyche, and I said this on the Into the Match reaction, and I will say it again, is that he was able to understand when he was wrong, and he was able to make those decisions quickly to turn this around. He knew as well as every one of us that having Michael Keane in that starting 11 week in, week out just wasn't working. And he made the decision to change it, put Yerry Mina in, and then he didn't go back when we lost to Manchester City and change it again, or he didn't go back when maybe he could have and said, well, look, that hasn't worked, so I'm putting Michael Keane back in. He didn't do any of that. He remained with it, he kept with it, and obviously he's been rewarded by that. Ultimately, he was given a pretty impossible task when he came in January. No transfers, a broken club, fans' relationship with the board has never been as bad, players have never looked so dejected, no goals in there, an injured striker, defensively we were leaking goals, and he's ultimately come in and done the job that he was asked to come in and do, which looked an impossible task at times, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. He will be the Everton manager going forward, and rightly so, and hopefully now we can build on the future with him. Do you still have questions about him? Absolutely. Have I completely flipped me coin on him? No. I still think that the jury's out there a little bit, but there's no doubt in that he's done a fantastic job to keep Everton in the Premier League, and he deserves to be able to run with that now and try and rebuild this football club for the future, because as he says, in his own words, this isn't a game to be celebrating, this isn't a moment to be celebrating with Everton Football Club, and we shouldn't be in this position, and he's absolutely right. I thought his interview after the game was absolutely spot on. But anyway, we're going to leave it there. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. We will be back with the live game review a little bit later on, so don't forget to look out for that one. Massive thank you all for watching. Please do leave a like, as I said, if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe if you are new. Everton remain in the Premier League. Thank for that. But yeah, never, ever, ever, ever again, please. Never again. Up the toffees, and we'll see you later.